The Villain's Demand reviews M.O.D.O.K Assassin, a Secret Wars tie-in. Written by Christopher Yost and art by Nilkar Penna.
This is The Villain's Demand. I'm Hero Man. This is Justin Von Doom. This is Evan the Great. Today we'll be covering another Secret Wars tie-in. This one's M.O.D.O.K Assassin.
In M.O.D.O.K's Assassin, you have M.O.D.O.K, and he is over Killville. It's a spot there on the Battle World map. And, well, he's not technically over Killville, but he's over Killville, if you know what I mean. During his daily journeys, he was an assassin, and he works, and he just goes and he kills different targets. And he kills people. He loves killing. And one day he runs into Bullseye trying to kill Dr. Octavius, and he kills Bullseye instead. Bullseye's like, "What are you doing? It's against the guild to do that." And he basically, kills Bullseye because he don't care. And then he takes Octavius, and he thinks that he saved him. No, he stole from M.O.D.O.K, and M.O.D.O.K blew his, made his head blow up too. And then through the story, he's going around. Something falls out of the sky, and it goes over there, and it's Lady Thor, and immediately she starts fighting him whenever they get over there. But he's fighting back, but at the same time he's falling in love, and it's hilarious. As they fight for a long time before they stop fighting each other. As the story progresses, to kind of speed things up a little bit, him and her, he loves her, and he loves how she kills people and fights people. And then he goes with her, and then the Kingpin gets pissed off because he killed, Bullseye, so he sends a bunch of assassins after him. Well, she has to help him, and vice versa, and they kill all these assassins. And then eventually Mordor, Baron, which he calls him Carl, shows up, and he basically tells him, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he's like, I can have you killed at any time. And he's like, "No, because you need me." And then they get in a little scuffle or whatever, and then Baron leaves. And then eventually, after he's fighting all the assassins, the Kingpin gets sent after him. What are they called? The mindless ones. The mindless ones start showing up, and he starts fighting them, and they're trying to find out what's going on, him and Angela. And eventually they find out that Baron sent the mindless ones, and he's trying to set this all up to kill M.O.D.O.K and make himself look good, and he wants to overthrow Doom and all that stuff. And towards the end of the book, basically M.O.D.O.K, he saved her, and then she saved him, and at the end they fight all the mindless ones, and all the Thor show up, and they're going to try to, I guess, arrest M.O.D.O.K, and she tells him, "No, he saved my life." And he's the one that undid all this mystery and found out what Mordo was really up to. And they basically fly off, and he thinks it's his time to make the move. He tries to kiss her, it don't happen, but she tells him her name, which is Angela, and he smiles as she flies off. And then M.O.D.O.K becomes what do they call him? Baron of Killville. And that's it in a short. We're going to break it down because this is one of the best tie-ins I've ever read for any story. It's funny, it's packed with action, and we'll go from there.
Okay, before we get started, Lady Thor is Angela, as you find out at the end of the book. Angela originally isn't a Marvel Comics character. She started in Image back in '93. She debuted on issue 9 of Spawn. She's created by Neil Gaiman and Todd McFarlane. She mysteriously showed up in the 616 after the Age of Ultron event and hasn't had that much, I would say, success within Marvel since showing up in the last couple years. But hopefully with the, I would say, popularity of this book that I would assume is climbing because this book really didn't sell that well, hopefully her and this M.O.D.O.K show up in Marvel after Secret Wars.
The book not selling well is actually depressing. Like Evan the Great said, it's the best tie-in I've read. It's right up there with Siege, a little bit above. I like the book from the beginning to the end. As Evan the Great was talking about, he just kills people, and then he just shows up, kills Bullseye for no real reason, or so you think at first. And it's actually to keep Bullseye from killing Octavius, who stole a chip from him. Which you later find out that chip, he can control the Sentinels with it, which he uses to his disposal, and it actually saves his life. Him and Angela, yeah, it saves his life. And then when he meets Angela, she falls from the sky You don't know what knocked her out of the sky. She just got hit with a blast. She assumes it's M.O.D.O.K. She can't pull her hammer to her. It's got this orb around it. Doesn't explain what it is at first. And so they just start fighting. And of course M.O.D.O.K. right off the bat, I've always wanted to kill Thor. Yeah, he's excited. And then he starts falling in love with how beautiful she is and how she swings her sword. He's like, good God, she swings it so magnificent. And just different stuff like that. And then, just out of instinct, he drops his most potent weapon. It's a bomb that he created to kill Gravitron. And once he drops it, he's like, oh no, I can't kill her. And he starts freaking out and like puts a force field around him and her and saves her from the bomb he just tried to kill her with. And he takes quite a bit of damage. And that's kind of where the fight ends. Because she's like, why'd you try to save me? And he's like, I don't know, blah, blah. And then they go off on their little thing trying to figure out what happened to her. And that's when the assassins come and attack. The book, it just keeps growing. And then it's also got a comedy feel to it that M.O.D.O.K's never had before.
Very Deadpoolish.
Yeah, very Deadpoolish. Which is hilarious. And there's eternal debates within M.O.D.O.K. himself. The book starts off with, in the beginning there was no one. Except for Lord Doom. And then it's M.O.D.O.K. talking, but he's got this debate inside his head. It's like a computer. He's like, unacceptable. And then it goes on and says something else about Doom. He's like, unacceptable, incorrect. And like he'll argue throughout the book with himself like that. And then he'll be saying stuff, and then that voice will go off in his head about just how beautiful Angela is, or just different stuff like that. And it gives it a funny feel. And then he's also has a couple funny moments throughout the book that I really enjoyed, which we'll touch on more as we go on.
And to kind of keep going with the good flow, if y'all kept up with our Civil War, you know, Spider-Man made a Sentinel shoot itself. Well, he's not the only one no more, because some of the funny parts in this is where M.O.D.O.K. does stuff like that. Like, these Sentinels are chasing Gambit, and they come up over the line, and when they do, he just goes over there and he kills the Sentinel, and then he tells the other two to go back and tell their leader that a robot can be slain too, and the next time they come over in my land, I'm going to kill them, and then I'm going to go through your land and kill every Sentinel, including you. And it was just funny watching him do stuff like that through the whole time. And then in all the quotes he makes, like Hero Man said about Angela, are just so funny. You know, every time she's killing somebody, he's like, oh, she's killing people. It's just all, you know, he's so involved with her. And it's almost like M.O.D.O.K., which he has never probably had anybody he loved before, and there it is.
And to note on what Evan the Great said about, you know, talking about the Sentinel territories, what I like is this is one of the few books that gives you an idea of what territories are around the territory that the book's taking place in, because he talks about the Sentinel territories, talks about the House of M territories, which Gambit is crossing borders in. And for once in a book, very few of the books are dealing with crossing territories. Old Man Logan is a big one that does that, because he is crossing all these territories. And it's about him finding out the difference in them. And he still can't figure out what the big deal is, you know, with crossing them. But Gambit is over there. And I thought that was funny because M.O.D.O.K. basically, at the time he's talking about the territory surrounding him, basically he's like this, yeah, I'm a bad motherfucker. If you cross over here, I'm going to fuck you up. and that's his big thing. He's just driving around, for one, in his hot rod.
That is so funny.
And it basically like, yeah, you know, I'm the biggest, baddest mofo in Killville, and if you fuck with me, I'm going to kill you. And I thought that was the greatest thing. It's just his arrogance. And the thing is, he can back it up. And I thought that's what's great is, it's almost like, I patrol the borders of Killville, you come into Killville, yeah, you know, no, fuck you.
I don't think he could do that.
Oh no, he can't. Yeah, well, to touch another part, he even kind of does that where they had a flashback with Doom. That's hilarious because like they all take a knee, and he's talking about how it's embarrassing that he can't do that.
Yeah.
And like he's trying and trying and trying and trying, and he's like, "This is embarrassing." And I thought that was hilarious because you're right. He couldn't do this. Because he can't even bow down.
Somebody
because
cuts his nose, right, and he can't reach it, and he's mad.
Yeah, his nose is bleeding, and he's like, I can't stop the bleeding. Yeah, it's unacceptable. And then, you know, just that little stuff like that is what makes this book great.
A couple things to point on M.O.D.O.K. that I really liked about him is some of the upgrades to his chair. Like, he's got a chainsaw that pops out that says kill. He's got rockets. He's got lasers. He's got all kinds of snakes. Yes, all kinds of stuff that just pop out of his chair. He looks like a personal little army that come out of his chair, and and he utilizes them pretty good. He cuts a couple people. He cuts Mordo's arm off.
Yeah,
That's
Why
so
he's
funny.
casting a spell, yeah.
Yeah. And so he utilizes a lot of this stuff that he uses in his chair. But another point on his personality that I really liked is how there's a couple times throughout the book where one, Shroud's helping them. He's a part of the Assassin's Guild, and Shroud's helping protect them from all these mindless ones. He's got this shield of darkness up, and he's like, I'll hold them out. And they're just sitting there, and Angela says something about Shroud putting the shield up, and then just out of nowhere, poof, his head explodes. And they're like, M.O.D.O.K's like, oh crap. And they're like, what'd you do that for? And he's like, I didn't mean to, it's instinct. Even though he was protecting them. Which I think it was actually, he got angry that Angela paid him some kind of attention.
Yeah.
And it wasn't M.O.D.O.K. So he blew his head up. But he does it again later. Like they're just talking to somebody, and he just poof, blows their head up. He's like, it's instinct. I find that funny. And to touch on what Von Doom said, his arrogance also plays a part in one of my favorite parts of the story. The last assassin to attack them is Taskmaster. And like it hits him, the shield hits him, and he's like, oh, what was that? And they fall down, and at this point he's flying off with Angela, and he's holding her hand, flying with her because she don't have her hammer. And all he's thinking about is she's holding my hand, you know, I'm saving the day, and just all this stuff, how he loves this girl. Then he gets cracked with a shield, they fall down, then a couple arrows land around them, and she's like, it's archers. He's like, no, them were Hawkeye's arrows, and that was Captain America's shield. I remember it broke my nose. And he's like, that's Taskmaster. And then once they realize it's Taskmaster, he's so arrogant, he's not even worried about Taskmaster. He just starts talking about what he was already talking to Angela about how he's putting the puzzle together to figure out who shot her out of there, why they shot her out of there, and all that. And he's trying to think about it. And Taskmaster was like, can we get serious, guys? I'm trying to kill you. And Angela's like, shut up, M.O.D.O.K's thinking. And then he keeps going on, and he's like, all right, it's over. And he goes to shoot, and he shoots an arrow at her, and Angela just catches it, throws it to the side, and they just keep talking nonchalantly, not threatened by him at all. And that just goes to show the arrogance of him, that you got a world-class assassin 3 foot from you, and you don't even care. You're just ignoring him.
And to add on to that arrogance, he even talks about how Taskmaster stole all them weapons from those guys after he had killed them too.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's even a reason for him to be like that towards Taskmaster. Is Taskmaster is kind of claiming his kills, and that's what really even makes that even more funnier.
That's very funny. The part I really like is maybe my favorite part is, well, not my favorite part, one of them, there's several, is where she runs off and she has him fight all the mindless ones, and he thinks she's leaving him, and she's like, no, I'm not leaving you, just stay here and fight them all. So he starts thinking about it, and he thinks that now she's trusting him, now she loves me, and he gets in his power meeting. He's like, I will kill them all, and he just goes crazy while she goes and tries to pick up the hammer.
Fail.
But that part was just hilarious to me. There's a lot of other ones, but I don't want to use them all because I'm sure these guys got some too.
Like the kissing after he gets his lip ripped open. And at the end, he's trying to kiss her, you know, and she's like, smack. She smacks him with the axe that she's got, like, no. And literally, I thought he was going to go mental organism designed only for kissing. Yeah. And he never did. I kept waiting for that to show up, and it never did. But that was just great because, you know, M.O.D.O.K's head is almost the size of Angela's body. It's massive, you know. Yeah. And he looks funny because you were talking about, when we was talking about the book earlier, how he talks, he's just got this gap that just moves around and whatnot. And in the end, it almost makes him a badass at the end of the book when he's driving around and all the assassins are after him. And it's just hilarious. And it's just, this book from start to finish is just downright hilarious.
I enjoy when M.O.D.O.K's fighting other people. He doesn't always just get lost in Angela, which happens constantly, which I'll touch on that a little bit more, some of the funny stuff he says about her. But he gets lost in other people's ability to kill efficiently. Yeah. Like, they're fighting the mindless ones, and they're running, and the mindless one, like, one of them decapitates Viper, the other one takes a laser and slices Sabretooth in half, and just different stuff. And he's talking, commenting on all this. He's like, oh, I've always wanted to decapitate her. And he's like, and I don't have any ill will against Sabretooth, but that looked fun. And just different stuff. And then he's like, maybe in a different life, we could have been friends. Talking about the mindless ones because they're so efficient killers. And he starts getting lost in how good they are at killing instead of defending himself. Yeah. And little parts like that's actually funny. And then...
Well, see, he does that with the Sentinel, with one of the Sentinels, and it's funny because the Sentinels show up, and then the Nimrod show up. He's talking about the wild Sentinels. He's like, that one's got a gun in its face. It's adorable, you know. Because, you know, they're so small for Sentinels, and just for it to have this massive gun in its face just like tickles him to death. It's hilarious.
Yeah, because it got destroyed, and it came apart as a bunch of little robots, and they were adorable. And he actually references a couple times. He'll use the word intelligent, and he'll state, he'll let you know, well, I'm just keeping it clear that that's sarcasm. Like, he doesn't think anybody else is smart. He was like, that's sarcasm, you know, they're not really intelligent. And just different stuff like that. This M.O.D.O.K has a very evil Deadpool feel to him that I think anybody could pick this book up and read and enjoy the book, because it's funny from start to finish, it's action-packed from start to finish, and it's got a pretty good story. And the play on the story, they actually... When it first happens, you're like, what knocked her out of the air? What, you know? Then you get lost in the book, and like, at least I did.
Yeah, you forget that even happened.
You forget that even happened, and then it comes back to it at the end. And I'm so glad they did come back to it, because after I finished the book, if they didn't go back to it, I'd be sitting there wondering, why didn't they explain that?
But would you have cared? It's great.
No, I wouldn't have cared. But they did go back and answer that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a good book from start to finish, all the way around. I recommend it. And I hope, personally, that they keep running M.O.D.O.K like this. I hope he gets his own book, and he's this M.O.D.O.K assassin in it.
Yeah, like a rivalry with Deadpool.
Yeah.
Or even then to a team-up with Deadpool would be great. But yeah, you took a very... Sorry, I know M.O.D.O.K's your man and all, isn't great, but a boring character, you know, that even... C-listers are, don't flip me off, are, that beat up all the time too. Someone that is actually great. I mean, you get to, this formula is what worked for Deadpool and made him very popular. He was a very serious character there when he first showed up in the 90s to this slapstick comedy character, and that sells, and you've got a gold mine, Marvel, right here in this book.
Yeah, everything about this book is so great. If they continue this character, it would be awesome. Another thing I want to point out during the book that really made this book just so awesome is, like, in Deadpool, he always talks to himself because he knows he's in the book. And this one, everybody that M.O.D.O.K talks to, he has an answer for them and what they are. Like, he'll be like, oh, this person is this way because stupidity, you know, or to say something random like that.
Yeah, he thinks he's higher than
Through the whole book, it's like that. It's so great. Even at the end where he's talking to Baron, he's just like, he's nothing to me. And at times I'm like, he's kicking your ass, M.O.D.O.K, but he winds up winning.
Yeah, I mean, and the entire time, like, you know, Hero Man had said that it's even when he's getting whooped, he's always referring to killing. Yeah. And even when Angela is down, which you've talked about this quite a bit, he's talking about how her hair is the color of fire, which kills people. You know, her lips are red, the blood of dead people. You know, and everything is a reference to death and killing to some extent. But to some extent, and it's just fabulous because this is the type of character you need for comics these days.
That's something I want to say. We're talking about that part when she's unconscious. He talks about her hair being like fire, it kills people. He's like, it's the color of blood from dead people. And he's like, her lips glisten red, not because they're red, but because of blood. And then he's like, I don't know if she can kill anybody with her lips, but I can see her killing someone with her teeth.
Yeah,
and that's
like biting them. Yeah.
And that's glorious. And then she's got these long ribbons on her. And he talks about them a couple times in the comics. Like, oh, you know what them are for. But he looks at them again. He's like, and then them ribbons. I don't understand what they're for, but I assume they're for killing people. And, like, he's just so mesmerized by this girl. Like, you can just go on and on about how they did such a good job with making him the way he entwined with her and was in love with her. And it was funny. It was like a comic relief in an action story. It was just, I thought it was a perfect blend.
Should be a movie. It is a great love story.
God almighty.
Yeah. And the question that we're wondering is now when Secret Wars is over, will this M.O.D.O.K still be around?
I hope.
Which, I mean, it's already shown that there are going to be multiples of characters around and characters from other universes. There's no more regular Wolverine. That's going to be played by X-23, which now Wolverine replaced with Old Man Logan. Miles Morales is now in this universe, along with a bunch of the other Ultimates. So if you're going to keep M.O.D.O.K around as a villain, why not keep M.O.D.O.K around as an assassin too? Why can't you have multiple M.O.D.O.Ks? So this is the main question. I'm sure if you love this book, what you're wondering, because it is what we're wondering. And there's so much you can play off of this, because if Angela now is like Queen of Hell, the Asgardian Hell. Could you imagine if he meets her afterwards, if he's around, like, Angela, and she's like, what are you? And it would almost be the same story again. And now he would think that she's even that much more badass because she's the Queen of Hell.
Yeah, he'd be even more in love with her.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, it would be great. And he might even want to die and stay in hell just to be with her, almost like Deadpool and Death.
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't even think about that till just right now.
But if you guys get a chance to read this book, you're only going to be a couple pages in and you're going to love it. I think where it hooked me immediately is when Bullseye actually threw the knife at him in the beginning and he caught it.
Yeah.
From that point forward, I said, okay, this MODOK's badass. And then they come with all the other stuff he had, all the sarcasm and then how he's so powerful. I recommend this book highly. And if this gets into somebody from Marvel, please make this an ongoing series. We would appreciate it.
The power level of M.O.D.O.K. I want to touch on. He kills other villains just to prove himself.
Yeah.
Like, he's driving around in his Hot Wheels car that's like a jet.
I want one of those.
And he's talking about all these people he's killed. And up in the north, there's this giant chunk of the land that's just lifted up, floating in air. And that's a gravitational field that's still disrupted from Gravitron.
Yeah, where he killed him.
Yeah, and he's like, I killed Gravitron. They said he couldn't be killed, but I did it.
Yeah.
And that's the bomb he tried to hit Angela with, was the bomb he built to take him out. But he killed another villain just to prove that he was the most badass villain in Killville.
Yeah, a villain way more powerful than him at that.
Yeah, way more powerful. And he took him down. Just to go to show how good M.O.D.O.K. is in this book, how powerful and how much of a threat he is. And he also talks about the Sentinels. Baron Mordo needs him.
Yeah.
Because he keeps the Sentinels out. Because the Sentinels are terrified of him. Because not only can he control human minds, he can control technology.
Yeah.
And Sentinels are technology. He laughs at them. He thinks they're just mediocre crap.
Yeah.
But he can still control them. And they're terrified of him. And he talks about that a little bit. And you get that feel that, this M.O.D.O.K. really is a powerhouse. And he's not to be reckoned with.
And the thing is, they make him a powerhouse without making him stupid powerful either.
Yeah, because he's so smart.
I mean, yeah, it's the gadgets that's doing it. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's sitting there fighting all the assassins and nobody's extremely powerful. But the fact that he, basically a floating head, is fighting multiple people at one time is just impressive. Because you've never seen M.O.D.O.K. accomplish anything like that until this incarnation. He's just been a flying around head that's blasting you with mental bolts. No, now he's got bazookas, rockets, snakes. That chainsaw. He loved that chainsaw. If anything, that's probably his, signature favorite weapon. Because Baron Mordo, when he's like, I'm going to cast the fire of... and it cuts his arm off, I mean...
Don't Angela get it, too, and fights him with it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, she fights him at one time.
He loves it.
But, I mean, this book, we can't talk enough about it. From start to finish, it is just great. It's non-stop action, and like he's been saying on a lot of these books, even the ones we've read, some of these, like the majority of these tie-ins, they don't pull you in. They don't give you anything to hold on to. They don't capture attention. And this one does. I think I read this whole story in maybe 25 minutes. I was just boom, boom, every page. I was just so caught up in it.
It's very easy to call it up in. From the very beginning when he's talking about, in the beginning, there was only doom. Unacceptable. Right there, you start realizing, this is going to be good. And then it just keeps getting better.
Imagine what M.O.D.O.K. would do if faced against God Doom. I mean, what would he, besides, you already see that he's bowed to him. But, they make him Baron at the end.
Yeah.
So, obviously, they see something into him. The common thing here is all these villains are wanting Doom's power during Secret Wars. But M.O.D.O.K. just seemed content at the end of this book running Killville,
Yeah.
Because that's what he's going to do. He's going to kill. But,
side with Doom?
well, technically...
This life is better than the other.
In a way, he already has. He is Baron of Killville. That's about as good as you can get.
Yeah.
So... But 5 stars from all of us across the board. If you can pick these up, find them. Currently around our area, they're $1. No one has bought them. And hopefully with this review, I know I've been some podcasts that's been reviewing them, and they love them too. So hopefully the popularity of this book and the character itself will pick up.
It's definitely worth looking into.
But this has been our review over M.O.D.O.K. Assassin, a Secret Wars tie-in. I'm Justin Von Doom. He's Hero Man, Seven the Great. Subscribe to us on YouTube, or you better be watching this, or we will send M.O.D.O.K after you. Follow us on Facebook. Send us some tweets on Twitter, and we will catch you next time.